Where is Balake at?
My name's Blake.
Blake? What? Do you want to go to war, Balake? I'm for real. Aaron.
Aaron is here. Welcome back, everybody, for more SPTV, where every day is a great day not to be in a cult. Whew. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant today. I'm going to try to keep it under control. I'm going to try to keep it tight. But I am going to go on a little bit of a rant. And the title of this video is "The Clearwater Police Are Failing Us." Do they work for Scientology? Are they working for Scientology? Guys, I know I continue to be and have a history of being very naive and optimistic, and the future is bright and wonderful, and everyone has great intentions, and everyone's trying to help us. And even when it comes to the police, I can be very easily lulled into a complacent state of thinking that the police are going to do what's right, do what's best for the people of Clearwater, seek justice. And every time I'm hopeful that the right thing is going to happen, I am proven a fool. So what are we talking about? Guys, for the approximately 2 years that my friends, it feels like it's been 2 years. My friends and I have been regularly protesting at least once a week in downtown Clearwater outside of Scientology. We have approached these protests from the spirit of fun. And we are not constantly sucking the police into our activities. We are not constantly calling the police every time a Scientologist bumps into us or even hits us. Protesters have been hit with objects and not called the police, hit with car doors and not called the police, verbally assaulted and threatened with violence and not called the police. And it wasn't until I was arrested last month for a Sea Org member getting colored child fun run powder on them. It wasn't until I was arrested for that and that we've started to go, you know what? If the police are going to keep threatening peaceful ex-Scientologist and anti-Scientologist protesters with arrest for peacefully protesting, for things like standing in the wrong place, or the chalk on the sidewalk took Scientology a little bit more time to clean up than Scientology would have liked, or that sign is leaning up on something that someone isn't sure if it's public or private property. If we're going to be constantly threatened with arrest and harassed by the police, then we are going to document our own rights being violated, document crimes against us, and insist on calling the police when we are put in compromising positions. Nothing could really be more clear than whether a Scientologist hits a protester with a car, right? Like, it just seems to me like nothing could be more clear than that. So like, I get children's fun run colored powder on a Sea Org member and I get arrested. But a Scientologist hits a protester with a moving vehicle. You'd think one of these things would rise a little higher in terms of, is it a crime? Will the police do something? Will somebody get arrested? My rant today is inspired by the complete failure of the Clearwater Police Department as embodied by Officer Brian Rowell, or Rowell, however you say his name. Here's the officer who's allegedly working on the case of Erica getting hit by a car by a Scientologist right in front of the Fort Harrison Hotel, captured on Scientology's cameras, captured on our live stream. This officer has failed to do even the bare minimum on this case, and has basically said, oh, golly gee, there's nothing we can do. We can't even find out who the car's registered to. Let me show you guys. Let me remind you. Here's the video as captured by my Tesla onboard cameras. Here's the video captured showing a Scientologist pulling up to the Fort Harrison Hotel, deliberately and intentionally running into Erica. The Scientologist wife gets out of the car, goes into the Fort Harrison Hotel, and then the Scientologist drives away. License plate completely visible, by the way, completely documented. Let me remind everyone what video we're talking about here. Let me share the right screen. Here it is. Yes, a droplet of water drips down in front of my camera, but you can still see what's happening. Literally drives into her and doesn't even stop, continues to drive into her. Yes, the camera glitches there for a second. The woman's getting out of the car and all of a sudden she disappears. It glitched for like half a second. The woman got out of the car, walked right into the Fort Harrison Hotel. And Eric is indicating where the car drove into her and hit her leg. Okay, good. Let's watch it again, folks. There's about 5 seconds there after the car makes initial impact where he continues to drive towards her, pushing her back and back and back. And the only reason Erica didn't get more injured or seriously injured is because she didn't allow herself to be run over by the car. But the car made contact, deliberately drove towards her, deliberately made impact with her, and continued to drive forward even after making initial impact. Let's watch it again. Okay, good. Now in this particular video, did I show the license plate? Did I? It's hard to make out the license plate on the video, but I was able to zoom in and enhance and all that kind of stuff. And I published the license plate number just to make sure that the police had it. That has not only not resulted in an arrest, the police officer claims he hasn't even been able to figure out who the car is registered to. And I'm going to give you some more information about this, but I want to compare this to the incident I was arrested for. By the way, those charges are still pending with the state attorney's office. We have received absolutely no word on whether they're going to move forward with the charges or whether they're going to dismiss the charges. My arrest is going to cost me $4,000 in attorney's fees, $4,000 if we go to trial, $2,500 if we don't go to trial. I made a YouTube short. I published a YouTube short, not only showing the incident that I got arrested for, but showing everything Scientology had done to us for the 4 or 5 weeks prior, where the police never showed up, never did anything. When we, the protesters, have called the police, they haven't even shown up. It doesn't matter whether we call the non-emergency number. It doesn't matter whether we call the emergency number. They don't even show up. Okay, here's the compilation that I did that then culminates with the incident I was arrested for and my arrest.
Check it out, guys. Check it out. You guys are throwing water towards all of our property. You guys are
By the way, I want to clarify something. In this video, when I say our property, my property, our property, I am not talking about the ground we're standing on. I am not referring to the sidewalk as our property. When I say our property, I mean our belongings, our chairs, our bags, our tripods, our bodies, our shoes, our clothes. That's what I mean.
They're throwing water right towards our property. Here we go. You guys are illegally throwing water towards protesters. What you're doing is illegal, and we're going to call the police.
I also want to clarify something. It looks like we are on Scientology property. There is some weird loophole where it has something to do with something called institutional zoning, where Scientology was able to, for some reason, construct their giant foyer, reception area, landing area, whatever you want to call it, their giant Scientology emblem, all of their custom brickwork on public property. Okay. So in these videos, the protesters are on public property. Scientology is sort of walking up to the property line that divides the public property and the private property, and they're throwing water towards the protesters. That's what's happening here.
Squeezy time. Go ahead, do it again. On public property.
Oh, here they're coming, ruining our protest art. Ruining our art.
Oh, how you doing, buddy? How you doing, buddy? That's actually really hot water, by the way. Here we go again, round 2, baby. It's good. We can play this game. Here, wash it off. Wash it off. Here, help me. Help me out, guys. Here we go again.
Now, I ask you real quick. Do you believe, you guys, you laymen out there like myself, do you believe that it is legal to walk up to somebody and throw water at their feet? Do you believe that is a legal thing that you are allowed to do? I maintain that it is not. I am still completely unclear as to the position of the Clearwater police on this. Do I have to claim to have been physically injured by the water in order for someone to be allowed to walk up to me and throw water at my feet? I mean, what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Because the Clearwater police seem, by their inaction, to think that's an okay thing to do.
There we go. Get out here, buddy. Get him on camera. See what you got.
That guy literally just poured water directly at me and at my feet.
There we go. So they walked over their property line and dumped the water on our art.
Oh, we got another one.
Here we go. Let's see what they do. This is public property, and you just came out and interfered with our constitutionally protected speech on public property. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You see him? Here we go. Bring it.
Look, guys, they're dumping hundreds and hundreds of gallons of water directly at protesters for no other reason than for that water to make contact with the protesters' property, and the protesters' artwork that is on public property.
Bring it.
Look, you literally just saw a wave of water that they intentionally threw directly at me make contact with me. How is that not a form of battery?
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. You see him? Here we go. Bring it. Bring it. Here you go.
And this is what I'm about to get arrested for, guys. This is what I'm about to get arrested for. I am holding a bag of Child's Fun Run powder. And it accidentally gets on this Sears member.
Cornstarch blowing in the wind, no physical contact directly made, you are saying is a felony battery.
Okay, guys, I'm going to kill the live stream, going to jail. Hopefully I get bonded out. I hope the security guard survives.
Yes. When the police arrested me, they told me it was going to be a felony battery charge because Scientology, there's some law that if you do certain things to a security guard, that is a felony, whereas to a non-security guard, it would only be a misdemeanor. The police then decided that because that person there's no way for anyone to know that that person is a security guard, that the law did not apply. And also, just because Scientology says you're a security guard doesn't make you a security guard. So there's that thing. Like, are you actually a licensed security guard, or does Scientology just say that that's your job? And also, if you're a security guard, are you wearing would anyone ever be able to identify you as a security guard except for a Scientologist? And so it was just charged as a misdemeanor instead of a felony. Okay. Now, you just saw me get put away in handcuffs, sent to jail, and charged with a misdemeanor battery for getting Fun Run colored Child's Run powder on a Sears member. And I'm going to show you one more time because I'm just so pissed. Here's a Scientologist hitting a protester with a car. Okay, good. So now I'm going to read for you. A text message I got from Erica yesterday, explaining what the police officer, by the way, who finally called her back after 3 weeks. The police officer investigating the incident where a Scientologist hit her with a car, finally, after many, many phone calls and emails, finally called her back. It's the bare minimum you could do, Officer Brian Rowell, or however you say your name. Okay. Erica says, the officer replied that he had collected video, no details whatsoever on what video was collected and from whom. Collected video and attempted to identify a registered owner of the vehicle involved, and it does not come back to a specific person. No further information on how that could possibly be true. Does that mean the vehicle's registered to a company? Does that mean it's a rental car? How is it possible that the vehicle registration didn't come back to a specific person? Also, who gives a damn? Scientology has all the video footage of that incident. Scientology knows who the member was that got out of the car. The member who got out of the car knows who it was that was driving. Scientology has all of the info. Okay. Why do the police officers, and in this case, officers such as Brian Rowell, not give the victim of the crime each and every little relevant piece of information for the victim to understand what's going on? Now, any ex-Scientologist or Scientologist knows that Scientology will never cooperate with the police when it comes to an investigation into an actual Scientologist. But it would be nice if the police would force the issue, make Scientology not cooperate. Go investigate. Ask Scientology for a video of the incident. Make them refuse to cooperate. Ask Scientology to identify the Scientologist who got out of the car. Make Scientology refuse to cooperate. Document it. Ask Scientology to put you in touch with the woman who got out of the car. Make them refuse to cooperate and document it. Ask Scientology for the identity of the driver. Make them refuse to cooperate and document it. Why does the Clearwater police not force the issue? Why does the Clearwater police not cooperate and give all of the information necessary to victims of Scientologists? Why, I can imagine someone be like, oh my God, well, maybe the police are terrified. Terrified of what exactly? Terrified of what? Maybe the police already know that Scientology won't cooperate. Well, that's great. Then force the issue. Document it. Here's what's crazy. The citizens of Clearwater and the elected officials of Clearwater have an adversarial and contentious relationship with Scientology because of who and what Scientology is. For some reason, Clearwater's city manager and the Clearwater Police Department have a friendly and cozy relationship with Scientology. Why is it that the city manager and the police department have a cozy relationship with Scientology, but the citizens and the elected officials have an adversarial, contentious relationship with Scientology? What is the explanation for the difference? Okay. And you almost go, well, who should the Clearwater police be more afraid of? Scientology or public exposure? It sure seems like the Clearwater police are more afraid of Scientology than they are public exposure. Maybe that just means they haven't had enough public exposure. Maybe there's not enough public outrage. Because if you're the Clearwater police chief, if you're the deputy chief, if you're the the lieutenants and the sergeants, shouldn't you know that like the eyeballs of the world are watching what you're doing? And shouldn't you know that it is Scientology who makes you guys look bad when they refuse to cooperate with you when you're investigating crimes involving Scientologists, but it's you guys who look like you're not doing your job. And so wouldn't you realize that if the eyeballs of the world are watching you and you're dealing with an organization that's not going to cooperate with you, you should at the very least very, very thoroughly document their lack of cooperation, because Scientology doesn't really want that exposed either. Okay. So between the two of you, between Scientology not wanting to be embarrassed on the world stage and the Clearwater police should not want to be embarrassed and humiliated on the world stage by looking like they're carrying Scientology's water for them, shouldn't the Clearwater police meticulously force cooperation, force the non-cooperation, document the non-cooperation, and show the eyeballs of the world that it is Scientology who is not cooperating with you, not you who is refusing to investigate Scientology? How in the world can the Clearwater police claim that they are unable to trace a car registration back to a specific person? And how can the Clearwater police allow Scientology to refuse to cooperate with them without making it a major, major issue and a point of embarrassment and humiliation and exposure for Scientology? It's absolutely unbelievable. The last 2 times we have tried to call the police as protesters, we get no one even showing up. Okay. Now, like I said in the beginning, I get very easily lulled into a state of mind where if you're just nice and cooperative to the police, then they will be helpful to you. You know, if you're just facts is the facts and you're not going to exaggerate anything, then the police will appreciate and they will be helpful to you. If you don't call the police all the time, then they'll understand that when you do call, it's for real and they will show up. You know, Scientology has called the police hundreds of times on the protesters, and the police know it's all bullshit, but the police show up anyway, don't they? The police show up anyway, don't they? Even when they know that it's bullshit. So, but they don't show up when the protesters call. So what are the possibilities for this? One possibility: every time Scientology calls 911, they are lying and exaggerating about what is happening so that the police will have to show up. Okay? But Scientology does that over and over again, and there is no consequence for making false, exaggerated, bogus phone calls to 911. The police at least do Scientology the courtesy of at least showing up, dotting the I's, crossing the T's, coming over to the protesters, being like, "How's everything going, guys? Looks like everything's great. Need anything? Okay." At least they showed up. What do the protesters do? We, in order to maintain credibility with the police, we never lie or exaggerate about what's going on to make them show up. And what do we get in return? They don't even show up. You want to know the last time we called the police? When a lunatic with a documented history of institutionalization who has exhibited stalking and harassing behavior towards me showed up to our protest on Friday to talk to me about my dead brother who died in a car accident, who showed up to heckle me saying that my brother didn't die and I blame it on Scientology, but really he killed himself and shot himself in the head because he was a suppressive who couldn't hack it in Scientology. And that, well, I will turn up dead on the street as well, just like my brother, because I'm a suppressive person as well. Okay. We called the police because this person was exhibiting drunk and disorderly conduct in public. Whether she was drunk or not, it sure seemed like she was. We obviously couldn't prove it. That's what the police are for. That's what the police are for. I'm actually going to show you a part of this video. Because this person has continued to be spotted around downtown Clearwater. She's continued to send me stalking, harassing, and threatening messages and making weird, unhinged posts to social media about me. Where's the Clearwater police? Where's the Clearwater police? I'm going to play for you a little bit of a clip. It is hard to hear, but off screen, I'm looking at a transcript, and I'm going to try to help you guys with this. Let me know if you can. Well, hopefully you can make out some of this.
Does it hurt to know that your mother Pennsylvania thinks that you're and does it know that your brother who killed himself that you were in the church for actually shot himself in the head?
Doesn't it hurt to know that your brother who killed himself and you blamed the church for, that he actually killed himself and shot himself in the head and
Continue to say it was the church. You know Eric was a part who killed himself. You want to know why, Eric?
and he shot himself in the head because he was a suppressive just like you.
Because that little twin of yours, he was aggressive, just like you.
That little twin of yours, he was a suppressive just like you. And then she starts talking about the last time I spoke to your wife, Heather. By the way, this woman has never spoken to Heather ever. Heather has never heard of her, has had no communication with her. So this lunatic shows up, starts pretending to have communication with my family members, starts pretending to know anything about my brother, claims to be a Scientologist. And I'm going to fast forward. There's one part where she says, and you're going to turn up dead on the street just like your brother.
He said you were $40,000 not for Heather. And is that why your brother killed himself, or is it because you were an embarrassment to the family?
Is that why your brother killed himself, or is it because you were an embarrassment to your family?
Cheryl. Cheryl.
Hold on. I'm looking for a particular spot. Here we go. Because found on the road dead is what Aaron's going to be, just like his twin brother. So an unhinged lunatic stalker with a history of institutionalization and a traumatic brain injury who has a history of being on antipsychotics shows up to a protest to heckle me about my twin brother who died in a car accident, starts talking about how he really killed himself because he was suppressive just like me, and being found on the road dead is what I'm going to be as well, just like my twin brother. A woman who was out there heckling us for an hour and 20 minutes. Now, it's not against the law to be out there heckling someone, but drunk and disorderly conduct is against the law. And it would have been nice when we called the fucking police on the emergency line that for the hour and 20 minutes that she was out there, a police officer could have showed up and spoke to the woman and determined for themselves whether this person posed a threat, was drunk and disorderly, whether a crime was being committed. Now, here's where it gets egregious. There is a on-duty Clearwater police officer inside the hotel lobby of the Fort Harrison Hotel working extra duty assignment for Scientology. Now you might go, well, Aaron, if they're working for Scientology, why would you expect them to come out and help you guys? Because he's on duty as a Clearwater police officer who's supposed to be working as a Clearwater police officer, not a private hired security guard for Scientology. It's a little bit of a loophole. It's not called off-duty work. It's called on-duty, extra duty on assignment. Officer Garrett Banks is usually the one working, but it's a bit of a loophole. He's not being paid by Scientology. The officer working extra duty assignment in the Fort Harrison Hotel is an on-duty Clearwater police officer being paid by the city of Clearwater. The city of Clearwater then turns over an invoice to Scientology so Scientology can pay the cost of the extra duty assignment. Okay, so we, peaceful protesters who've been out there for 2 years without a single incident until last month when I got arrested for the powder incident, and who never ever call the police. Not only do we call the 911 emergency line and an officer doesn't show up for the entire rest of the evening that we're out there. But the Clearwater officer who is on duty in the lobby of the Fort Harrison Hotel watching our live streams isn't even told to come out and take the call that we just made. This is a scandal. This is a scandal. And when an actual incident of a Scientologist hitting a fucking protester with their fucking car is documented for the entire fucking world to see, the Clearwater police comes back 3 weeks later and says, golly gee, we couldn't even figure out who the car was registered to. I'm going to play the video for you one more time. What kind of pathetic piece of shit, incompetent, good for nothing police officer or police force can't do an investigation to find out who that car is registered to, or the identity of the woman who got out of the car and went into the Scientology building, or the identity of the man who was driving the car that's been documented on video? It's a scandal. It's an absolute scandal. And when the protesters call the emergency line and the non-emergency line, we can't even get an officer to show up. Who is calling the shots at the Clearwater Police Department? What are the directives and the policies that the police officers are being given with respect to Scientology making hundreds of phone calls to peaceful protesters? Okay. Are the police, just because Scientology is making hundreds of calls, baseless, foundless calls to the police about protesters, are the police also being told we're not going to show up when the protesters call? Do you see the problem? So in order to get the police to show up, do the protesters have to call and lie to the police just like Scientology does and act like there's some sort of a burglary or a battery or an assault in progress? Is that what we have to do? Do we have to lie to the police just like the Scientology does in order to even get a police officer to show up? It's absolutely unbelievable. The police, time and time again, behave in a way that make them look like they're working for Scientology. Why is this permitted by the Clearwater police chief? Why is this permitted by the Clearwater city manager? Why do they continue to allow this? This is a fucking scandal, and we are not going to let it go. We are going to embarrass and humiliate and shame the Clearwater police into behaving in a way where they at least have to look like they are protecting the rights of ex-Scientologists and Scientology protesters to the same degree that they are doing for Scientology. It's an absolute fucking scandal. Trying to look at my notes and see if there's anything else that I wanted to share. No. This unhinged lunatic who has, oh, by the way, I'm going to share some information. Who is this? I have been contacted by people who personally know this stalker of mine named Whitney Blair Petrie. Whitney Blair Petrie has legitimately been doing Scientology courses almost full time for the last 5 years. Scientology knows who she is. Scientology knows that she's a lunatic. Whitney goes back and forth publicly and privately between claiming to be a Scientologist and claiming not to be a Scientologist. But people in her life privately who have nothing to do with Scientology have contacted me privately and said, Whitney has for about 5 years, since 2020, been claiming to be working full-time for Scientology. Claiming. has basically been doing Scientology extension courses and introductory courses full time, has been claiming to people in her life that she's attained Scientology's state of clear, that she is moving up the ranks of the organization, that she has been working with Scientology and has been moving up the Scientology. You guys notice that in Scientology, in Whitney's social media profiles, she claims to have recently moved to London, England. Well, Whitney claims that the reason she did that is because Scientology wanted to move her up to the higher levels and wanted her to take on more responsibility in Scientology. Now, we're also talking about someone who has a history of institutionalization, who has a traumatic brain injury, who's been the subject of restraining orders, who's lost custody of her children, who has relocated to Clearwater and is living out of a hotel. But like, this is an unhinged lunatic. And she was out there exhibiting unhinged behavior to protesters. And we wanted to document that by having the police show up and at least make contact with this woman. They didn't even show up. She was then spotted the following day at a Scientology street event. She was then spotted 2 days ago outside of Scientology's flag building. I don't mind telling you guys that someone who's in touch with me made contact with the Church of Scientology of Salt Lake City this morning to try and verify whether, because that's where Whitney is from, that's where she claims to have been involved in Scientology. The Church of Scientology of Salt Lake City has no record of Whitney Blair Petrie in any way, shape, or form. Scientology security guards are aware that Whitney Blair Petrie has been hanging around their buildings, and Scientology's in a little bit of a pickle. Does Scientology call the police on a woman who is claiming to be a Scientologist? That's a little awkward, isn't it? Isn't that weird? You have Whitney who claims to be a Scientologist. I suspect she's been doing all of her introductory courses and her extension courses through the Scientology.org website. I suspect that she hasn't actually been active at a real Church of Scientology, but Whitney thinks she's a Scientologist. She identifies as a Scientologist. She claims to be a Scientologist, and she's out there harassing and stalking ex-Scientologists and protesters. What does Scientology do about this? It puts them in a very awkward situation. You know what would help make it a little less awkward? If the police would get involved. When the ex-Scientologists and protesters call them on the emergency police line to come out and provide assistance. I would like to know why the police aren't responding to 911 calls from protesters when being stalked by people by a person claiming to be a Scientologist with a history of institutionalization and restraining orders and lost custody of her own children. Do you see the problem here? It's a fucking problem. And I'm going to keep making a big deal about it. And I'm going to keep blaming and shaming the Clearwater police until they start to conduct themselves with some integrity and some consistency. Treat the ex-Scientologists and the protesters with the same courtesy and respect and follow through that you're treating Scientology with. That's the bare minimum that you can do. Okay, I think that's all I have to say on this for now. A Girl says, love to Aaron and the Clearwater crew. Stay strong. Thank you for being a channel member for a month. Elston Gunn, thank you for gifting 5 channel memberships. And Xenu Golf Club, any update on the crazy stalker woman and any more emails? No further emails since the last video that I did. Whitney Blair Petrie is still in the Tampa Bay area with no explanation of why she's here. She claims to be living in England. It's all a lie. She's still here. If she's not here for Scientology, and if Scientology doesn't claim her, what is she here for? Why is she harassing and stalking ex-Scientologists? Why is she claiming to be a Scientologist? Should the Clearwater police be showing an interest in this woman with a very problematic history? I think they should. Okay, guys, that's all I've got for right now. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click